To view our Power BI report in the Power BI mobile app, we first have to upload it to the Power BI website. Depending on the version you have of Power BI, you could share this report with multiple users, but in my case, I'm the only one who could see this report. So once you've created a Power BI account or you sign in, you'll then be presented with this screen. With this screen, you can see all the reports and the dashboards you have, along with any data sets you have uploaded. So there's two options. You have the option to create a workspace, or you have a default option called My Workspace. This is the option I went for, and you can see that I have a couple items listed there. So you can see I have my dashboard and I have the data set for the dashboard. But additionally, you could upload different types of reports. You could upload a data set, you could upload a Power BI report, and that's what we are doing here now. I'm not going to go fully in depth on how to upload a Power BI report, but this is just the main basic steps. You could upload a Power BI report from your computer to the server, and it additionally asks you to upload a data set if you want to. In my case, since I already have this report uploaded, I have the option to replace it or cancel it. So in my case, I'm going to cancel it, but that's just a quick way of uploading the Power BI report to the server. Alright, so if you come to the Power BI app on any Android or iOS device, Power BI for mobile of course, there is a page where you can view your report activity. On this page, you can see which reports or dashboards were refreshed, and also if any alerts were triggered. So highlighted in the red circle are any reports or dashboard that were refreshed. You don't get a notification for this. You have to come to the Power BI app to see it. So you can see that my report and a couple of dashboards were refreshed 2 days ago. And I have it set up in the Power BI website to where Monday through Friday at 5:30 p.m. the data is pulled from my computer and it updates. It'll update on the Power BI website, and it'll also update on the Power BI mobile app. Below that, if you have any alerts set up and they are triggered, you can also view it on this page as well. And this is what an alert that has been triggered looks like when it comes to your phone or tablet device. One thing to note about the alerts, when you set them up, it has to be a manual value for the threshold. It can't be dynamic or anything like that. So you can see here, one alert was triggered on Wednesday, then another alert was probably triggered on Thursday or Friday. I'm not too sure. Once you get a notification that an alert has been triggered, you can then click on that notification and it'll take you to that specific report of whichever KPI was below the threshold or above it. In the Power BI mobile app on the activity page, this is what the alert notification looks like. Again, you could click it and it'll take you to the report of where that alert was triggered. And these alerts here are mainly for demonstration purposes. I wouldn't really put a whole lot of weight into them. The first alert that you see here relates to a stock symbol where the closing price was below the threshold of $8.55. The second alert is basically a couple of the stocks that I do own. It's a summation of all their opening prices compared to where they closed the previous day on the particular day. And like I said before, for the threshold, it has to be static. You really can't put any formulas in it, or you can't have it relate to another value or column. So $482 was the threshold, and you can see here that an alert was triggered because the opening price was less than this closing price threshold. And as I said earlier, you get a notification whether you're looking at it on your phone without the Power BI app, or you actually in the Power BI mobile app and you come to this activity page here. There's also one more thing I want to show you. On the iPhone or Apple devices, you could set up a shortcut that'll take you directly to the report. So the shortcut that I have set up here is just basically I activate Siri and then I say open stock project dashboard. Okay, so now we are going to take a look at the Power BI mobile app and also the report we have created. So when you open up the Power BI mobile app, you are greeted with this screen. This is the quick access page. And on here, we can view our frequents. These are the reports or dashboards that we have looked at the most. And also we could view the most recent reports or dashboards we have looked at. On the next page, we have the activity page, and we've already went over this as well. Basically here you can see which report or dashboards have been refreshed, if any of them have been refreshed. Okay, so now it's finally time to take a look at our dashboard or the report as Power BI calls it. So this theme is designed around TD Ameritrade. That's the brokerage, I guess you would call them, that I have when I'm buying stocks. So it's going to be a lot of black and green colors. So looking at this main page here, if you look in the top left hand corner, you can see that there is a note in red font that says data is refreshed Monday through Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. And this is for Power BI online only. And then in the top right hand corner, you have when the report was last refreshed. But this is incorrect here. Initially, I wanted to try and create like a formula that tells you when the report was last refreshed on the data set was last refreshed, but I don't think Power BI has that feature yet. So this will tell you when the report was last opened. Alright, so next we have our gainers, and this comes from our database, which is the store procedure gainers. And I do want to note that a majority of these graphs, the data set behind them are going to come from store procedures that we created in our database. So the next graph that we have is called the decliners. And again, this one uses the store procedure that we created, which is the decliner store procedure. So these two graphs are going to show you which stock symbols have gained in the stock market for the current day and which ones have declined. The next graph or visualization we could take a look at is the fidelity benchmark table. This is not the complete table, this is a shortened view of the table. There's more columns to this table, but it's on another page that we have in this report. So you can see here how each sector has performed from the last time the Python script pulled from the fidelity benchmark table. And then the last table that we have on here is called stocks not found in fidelity. And these are all the stock symbols that when we went to search for them on Python using the Fidelity website, they were not found on that Fidelity website. So it's just a list of them. So moving on to the next page, we have it called individual stock. So this is going to give you an overview for each specific stock symbol that you search for. So in the top left hand corner, we have a filter that you could type in or select whichever stock symbol you want, but only the stock symbols that are in our database. For each stock symbol that is associated with a sector in the industry, the sector and the industry are towards the top of the page. So you can see Nike is consumer discretionary and its industry, I believe, is textiles and apparels. Then below that, we have the sector and the last percent change from the fidelity table. So this little table tells you that the consumer discretionary sector is up 1.47% from the last time we pulled that data. And then we have our headline table. The headline table contains the headline for the article, and behind it is a hyperlink that takes us to the article. These articles come from a wide range of websites. So if we click and hold one of the headlines, you can see on any Apple device that we get a quick view of what the website looks like or a quick preview of the article. So going through a few more examples of Nike, if we click and hold another headline, you can see that this article comes from the Yahoo Finance page. This table is sorted by the most recent date to the earliest date. So another example we have here, this article comes from the website called Digital Market News. So all of those links will take us to the corresponding headline, and we can preview the article, or if we want to read it, we definitely can. So you can see here that we are able to read all of the article without even leaving the Power BI app. Next up, we have a KPI in the middle of the page, and this is going to tell us where that stock symbol opened for the day and where it closed. If it's in red, that means that the stock symbol finished below where it's open, and if it's in green, then that means it finished higher than when it opened. You can also see the date for it as well and the percentage it gained or declined. Next to that, we have a whole overview of the stock symbol from when it first started trading in the stock market up to the most recent date. If you hover over any of the data points, you can see where it opened, where it closed, and the volume it had for that day. Moving back to the left side of the screen now, there's another table or a card that shows you the last dividend that company paid out. So for Nike, their last dividend payout amount was 25 cents. And below that card, you can see all of the dividends the company has paid out. This is only if the company actually pays out dividends. If not, then these two tables would appear blank. Then after that, we have one of the more important graphs or visualizations on this page, and it's called the year-over-year percent change. So to sum up this graph quickly, in the back end in our SQL database, we created a script that will give us the average closing price every year for each stock symbol and compare it for the same stock symbol for the next year. And it's going to output that result as a percentage. So we could see on average how much that stock has grown from a year to year period. The green bars represents that the stock has grown percentage wise, and the red bars mean that they have declined percentage wise as well. And then for the last graph that we have, it's just basically looking at the stock symbol and how it performed, but only in a shortened time frame. So it's not like the graph above it where it's giving you the whole overview. So we could go through a couple of the different stock symbols that we have and see how every time we click one, the page change. So we are on Electronics Arts right now, and this is just basically short for EA. And you can see that this company only paid out a dividend back in December 1st, and it was for 17 cents. If we take another look at a different stock symbol, we can choose Hertz. You can see Hertz does not pay out a dividend, so that table is blank, but the information changes with that page for Hertz. So you can see Hertz is in industrial, road, and rail. If we look at Kemet, but I think Kemet is no longer in the stock market. So we could take a quick look at Microsoft. So Microsoft last dividend payout was 51 cents, and you can see their year over year percent change table mainly in the green. So that's basically it for this page. It holds a lot of valuable information. So we can move on to the next page now, which is called Stock Sector and Industry Performance. So the first graph that we have here is the Fidelity benchmark table. This is the full scope of the table. So it's not like where we've seen it on the stock recap page where we have gotten a certain view. What we are looking at right now is all of the table. The next graph we have is called Average Close by Sector. So this is going to take all of our stock symbols that have a sector associated with them and give us the average closing price for each sector. And just to note as well, this is only for the stock symbols that we have in our data set. So this is not a representation of the whole stock market. So the next graph that we have is called the average dividends by sector. And just like the name states, it is going to look at the average dividend payout amount by each sector. So on this graph, you can see in our data set particularly that utilities pay out the highest dividends. And then the next graph that we have is the GDP by year. So we have the GDP data for the entire world, and then we have it for the United States. This data is used for predictive purposes, but it's also good to have a visualization in here for this as well. So the next page that we have is called closing price predictions. The visualizations that you see at top of the page we have seen before, so I don't really need to explain them. But the graph on the bottom are the predictions that we created in SSAS in Visual Studios, and those are our closing price predictions. Not every prediction is going to look logical, but this is mainly for demonstration purposes. So bringing different types of software together to have one final report. So you can see we have closing price predictions for Dell and Nike. We could add or remove different stock symbols to this graph as well. So the filter allows you to select multiple values at once. And you can see once we select a value, we'll get the predictions for them. And like I said before, that these predictions, some of these predictions may not make sense, but they're really here for demonstration purposes. So the main point of this page is just to try and get a future outlook on any given stock symbol that we have within our data set. So the last and final page that we have is called My Stocks. So this is basically the page that takes from the other pages that we have seen before. So I've explained everything before on this graph, but this page here is only going to contain information for the ticker symbols or stock symbols that I currently own. And you can see that this page functions just like any other pages that we have viewed before. As well, if you take a look at the closing price predictions, you can see that we have a bit of a crazy prediction for YLDE. So that's why I said on the previous page, not all of the predictions we have make logical sense, but this is mainly for demonstration purposes. But other than that, all the graphs and visualization functions the same as they do on other pages.